Hi, ArcfieldWeather.com meteorologist Paul Doreen here on Monday morning, July the 1st. We have a major hurricane Beryl that is just now about to enter over the Caribbean Sea on the verge of Category 4 classification, just 1 mile per hour shy at last observation of actual Category 4 categorization. 130 mile per hour sustained winds, all it is required for Cat 4, 131. Very likely indeed that the next observation will raise its status to a Category 4 storm. This is the entrance to the Caribbean Sea, the Windward Islands right here. Just to orient us, this is Puerto Rico showing up here, northwest part of this image, very northwest part of the image, Dominican Republic. Right next door is Haiti, Aruba showing up right there on the western edge of this image. Generally a westward movement here, moving over some very warm waters of the Caribbean Sea. Again, just shy of Category 4 status. I do believe it has a decent chance of reaching all the way to Category 5 classification, probably right in this area right here over the next day or two, right in this area, this part of the Caribbean Sea. A possible Category 5 storm that requires 157 mile per hour sustained winds. A very symmetrical look to it, and again, it's ripe for further intensification. Easily a Cat 4, and I think likely a Cat 4, a Cat 5, right in this area, right there. Well, let's take a look at all the players on the field. This is a map from NOAA's National Hurricane Center. Here is Hurricane Beryl, again, right on the verge of becoming a Cat 4 storm. This is the Windward Island chain. Puerto Rico right here, Hispaniola right here. This is Dominican Republic and Haiti on the western side. And the movement appears to be right in this fashion right here over the next few days, perhaps just to the south of Jamaica, which sits right there. The front-running tropical system we talked about last week did, in fact, intensify enough to become a named system, a named tropical storm, Chris. It is now over land, over eastern part of Mexico, and will undergo a continuation of the weakening process over land. There is another system out here. It moves in the same general direction as Hurricane Beryl. Now, it probably has less of a chance of intensification because once it reaches the Caribbean Sea, it'll likely move over some chilled waters due to upwelling that's likely to occur with this Cat 4, maybe even a Cat 5 hurricane here. As it moves over the Caribbean Sea, it'll churn up the waters underneath. Process called upwelling brings colder water up to the surface, so it's liable to have a more hostile environment for this system to intensify immediately on the heels of Beryl. That remains to be seen, and we'll certainly closely monitor all of these systems over the next several days. Now, in terms of the potential movement of Beryl, it continues on a west to west-northwest track here. Again, major hurricane status, and I think right in this region right here, it has a chance to become a Cat 5 hurricane. That's 157 mile per hour sustained winds right now at 130 mile per hour sustained winds. That will probably be the peak of the strength of this particular tropical cyclone here. Beryl continues to move to the west-northwest, maybe just south of Jamaica. Very close call to a direct hit on Jamaica, likely just south. Very damaging conditions likely on the island of Jamaica. Then ultimately into the Yucatan Peninsula region of Mexico. And after that, it slides into the southwestern Gulf of Mexico. And conventional thinking is that it'll continue west right into eastern Mexico at that point. But I think the door is open, and we'll kind of talk about this over the next few minutes. The door is open at this point for it to start to turn to the north and west at the very end of the track of this system, maybe affecting Texas and even all the way into southwestern Louisiana. Have to remain on guard here for this system. Again, likely to move in this fashion here into eastern Mexico. But there is a reason to believe that the door may be open for more of a northwest push right at the very end towards Texas, maybe even an outside chance towards Louisiana. We'll talk about that over the next few minutes. Well, what I'd like to show here are the ensemble runs of the European model from 0Z last night. First, we're looking at surface pressure field. These are high pressures and low pressures at the surface, and there is this tremendous high pressure system over the central Atlantic Ocean. We talked about this last week, that clockwise flow of air around highs. Really the reason that these three systems, Chris, Beryl, and then the following system, generally move in that west to west-northwest direction. And here is the current location of Beryl, the Windward Islands right here, the Caribbean Sea right here. Again, with this strong high to the north, that will kind of continue the push westward right through the Caribbean Sea and not allow it to come up along the eastern seaboard of the U.S. Now, let's move forward here and watch what happens to the pressure field here. This is, again, at the surface level here. And here comes Beryl moving along. This is the island of Jamaica right here by about the middle of this week. Again, it comes very, very close, perhaps just to the south here. And then we go into the latter part of the week. This is all the way out to Friday, the Yucatan Peninsula region of Mexico right here, and Beryl about to slam into that part of Mexico. Now, just watch what happens here as we get into the weekend. This kind of loses a little bit of its influence on Beryl by the time we get to the upcoming weekend. First of all, it's moving farther and farther away from the core of that high pressure system over the Atlantic Ocean, and it tends to kind of pull away and allow for, I think, a slight possibility for a northwest turn at this point here up into perhaps southeastern Texas. Again, current forecasts have it continuing all the way, as Chris did, into the eastern part of Mexico, but certainly do not want to rule out the possibility of a turn to the north and west as it loses a little bit of its influence from this anticyclone over the central part of the Atlantic Ocean. Again, we're looking now all the way to Sunday, July the 7th. By the way, notice here this particular surface map here. We have a strong high pressure over the Atlantic Ocean, another strong high pressure over the Pacific Ocean. That is kind of the big picture look at the summertime pattern, where you have high pressures over the relatively cool waters of the Pacific Ocean and Atlantic Ocean. Meanwhile, the land mass of North America, in this particular area, we're talking about the U.S., generally heats up because of the solar effects in the summertime. So the land is warmer than its surrounding water to the west and east, and that tends to lead to lower pressure over the land and higher pressure over the Pacific Ocean and the Atlantic Ocean. So this is kind of a typical look to a summertime pressure pattern. Now let's walk through the upper level high pressure ridging here, outlook over the Gulf of Mexico, the Atlantic Ocean here as we move forward. Again, looking at the 0Z ensemble run of the European model. We start off here on Monday, July 1st with a lot of strong high pressure ridging over the Gulf of Mexico region. Beryl reflected here at 500 millibars right here. Now let's move forward here and just kind of walk quickly through this and watch the high pressure ridging. Again, very focused over the Gulf of Mexico up until the latter part of this week, and then it starts to kind of pull to the north and east here at this particular time. Notice at this particular time here, the real main part of this upper level ridge shifts kind of from the Gulf of Mexico to the east coast. This is now all the way into Saturday, and then we'll go all the way out into Sunday, July the 7th. Now this little bit of a uptick to the north and west is a possibility at this time when this high pressure ridging shifts a little bit from the Gulf of Mexico to the just off the eastern seaboard. So again, this is a time period over the upcoming weekend. We'll have to closely monitor the system. That's several days away. I'm just kind of speculation phase here, but again, it certainly appears that a Beryl will cross over the Yucatan Peninsula into the southwestern Gulf of Mexico and perhaps continue into eastern Mexico. But I just want to hold out that possibility for a last-minute turn to the north and west, possibly impacting Texas, even as far north as, let's say, southwestern Louisiana. It's just a couple of those high-pressure systems going to raise a red flag, and we're many, many days away. Those couple of high-pressure systems I'm referring to at the surface level and at the mid and upper levels of the atmosphere. So we'll have to monitor that situation certainly over the next week or so. Well, one last map I'd like to show is of the eastern Pacific Ocean. This is pretty interesting because while the Atlantic Ocean, now the Atlantic Basin, has certainly become active, even a major hurricane, Beryl, right now, which is on the verge of Cat 4 and I think likely Cat 5, the eastern Pacific Ocean is quiet right now. Not only is it quiet now, it's been quiet all season. In fact, if we go another couple of days without a tropical cyclone in the eastern Pacific, it'll be the latest start of any season in recorded history. I'm quite sure of that all we have to do is go a couple more days here in the eastern Pacific Ocean without a system, and it'll become the latest start ever in the eastern part of the Pacific Ocean. So quite a difference from an active Atlantic Basin to a non-active eastern part of the Pacific Ocean. And the Pacific Basin is by far the most important area for global tropical activity, since it is indeed by far the biggest ocean around the world. So this is big news here, the fact that it's been so quiet in this case, the eastern part of the Pacific Ocean. Again, something we'll monitor over the next several days. That's it for now. For ArcfieldWeather.com, this has been meteorologist Paul Dorian.